Hey everyone, Thornton here, and so far Palworld has actually been taking over the gaming world by storm. It should come as no surprise, but today we're going to go over 5 things that the developers are going to need to address very soon in an update to really fix a lot of the issues that players are, starting to notice within the game. We're going to go over that, but without further ado, let's start at number 5. So as I was saying, number 5 is actually going to be addressing the stat balancing and the late game economy, which, isn't that big of a gripe because it is still in early access in a way, but we are still going to go over it. Currently, there's a huge imbalance in player stats. Some are actually pretty useless. In addition to this, as players are continuing to progress, the gameplay kind of gets monotonous. I mean, it is a really good, fun gameplay loop, but as it currently stands, it does feel like something is missing just a little bit. There's more shifting focus away from enjoyment towards repetitive resource gathering and crafting, which I get it, survival game, but I would hope that eventually they figure out a way to kind of, broaden the horizons of this game because it does have a lot of potential. Fixing the in-game economy would be a great thing to do very early on, especially as people are building up their sweatshops. I mean, Pal place. I don't know what these even are, but yeah, it'd be great if they actually made some of the resources just a little bit more valuable once you've harvested them. Now we're going to move on to number 4, and this is something that I think is going to be very, very important going forward, and that's actually dungeons. Because while Palworld has hinted at the introductions of raids in their upcoming roadmaps, right now we do have access to dungeons. And unfortunately, the dungeons in the game lack diversity. Now, not nearly as bad as, say, Skyrim or other older games, but still, to this point, can't really notice the difference between 1 and 2. There's a ton of repetitive layouts that kind of make the thrill of exploration kind of null and just not really worth it. And I'm not saying go ahead and add in a bunch of complex puzzles or mechanics. I'm not looking for something like Breath of the Wild difficulty here. Not that those are particularly difficult anyways, but introducing some variety would actually make the overall experience a ton more fun when going through these with your friends. Figuring out little mechanics or hidden areas that you're not typically supposed to find would be really, really great. But then going on to number 3, let's talk about invasion XP. And invasions are currently a taxing ordeal for most players in the game, at least for me. You may be built different, and if you are, congratulations. But there's minimal benefits beyond meager material rewards. Even if you do a successful defense of your base, you don't get much XP for yourself or for your squad. And the lack of that experience makes it kind of feel out of place, especially considering their challenging nature, especially like when you're building a really, really cool castle / wooden fortress, and then one thing catches on fire and now the whole thing's destroyed. And even if you do manage to save the entire thing, you only get like 5 XP. I don't know. I think it needs to be reworked a little bit. But we'll go ahead and move on to number 2, and that's PAL job assignments. Now, of course, you can always just pick up your PAL and throw them directly at what you want them to work on, but there's a clear need for a system that allows players to manually prioritize skills for their PALs. I don't know what it is with the AI pathing in this game, but they'll often pick like trivial tasks that you would not want them on, and then there are critical ones and they're like, nah, that's too hard for me. I'm not going to touch it. Which just makes me think that all the PALs might be just a little bit lazy or, high. I don't know. But it can lead to frustrating gameplay experiences, especially during those base invasions that we just covered. Implementing a more intuitive job assignment system with a UI interface would actually go a long way and be incredibly fantastic. And coming in at number 1, let's address the PAL-based AI, which, I just kind of talked about. PALs constantly get stuck or behaving inefficiently, especially the bigger you get your base, which is, going back to what we started off with, end game content. Wow, it's like we're in a giant circle of things that would need to be improved and they all tie in with each other. Now, despite the efforts to mitigate these issues, they are consistently persistent. And like we've said, this is a game in early access. All these things aren't expected to be here and fixed right away, but they do disrupt gameplay and immersion, which is one of the strong suits of this game. It's really easy to get sucked into this gameplay loop, and if they just tweak a couple of small things, it has the potential to be an absolute banger of a game. Addressing the AI shortcomings is paramount to making sure that the game just feels like an actual lived-in world and that your PALs are actually real breathing things, even if they're just pixels on a screen. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Palworld has been an absolute sensation. It's boasting incredible numbers with a peak of like 2 million concurrent players on Steam. However, as I've said earlier, there is some speculation that this peak might actually be a plateau. I certainly hope not. I think that they're going to add in some new content and it will boost numbers again, but there are significant areas as we went over that demand attention, so I do hope the Palworld team over at Pocket Pair is ready to tackle these challenges as soon as possible. Let me know down below, what are some issues that you have received with Palworld, and do you think anything on this list isn't that big of a deal and you are just still enjoying the game regardless? Also, don't forget to check out this channel right here, and until next time everyone, thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next video.